Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. It's Tag Tuesday, and so I was looking through some tags and trying to figure out what to do. And a couple weeks ago, I was going through and looking at like Steve Donahue's old videos, and I was finding all kinds of tags that I had not done. And it's one of the things I like to do when I do dishes is I put my phone up in the windowsill and I listen to videos. And I like to go back in people's old videos, and because a lot of times I'm up to date with the most current, and so I'll look at the old videos and get ideas for tags. And I do that with my favorite booktubers. Like I said, a couple weeks ago it was Steve Donahue. Recently, this week, the last couple days, it was Peg at the History Shelf. I was going back and looking at some of her old videos. And so for Tag Tuesday, the video I found that I am going to do is Dilemmas of a Book Nerd tag. And so I saw this at Peg's channel, and then the original was done by Lindsey's Little Library, and so I watched her video, and anyway, it's a set of 10 dilemmas of book nerds, people like me, people like you. Some things that we face all the time with our books. And so I kind of like the idea of the questions, and so I decided I was going to do this one. So here we go, BookTube. Dilemma number 1, book storage. How do you store and organize your books? Now this is, for me here at the Ruttenberg Library, this is a constant issue because my house, I have an older house, but there's not a lot of storage in this house. So unless I have it actually on a shelf, it gets in the way pretty quickly. And so in my house, I've got several shelves in the house, and I got the 3 back here, and then upstairs in the upper room, I've got 6 or 7 shelves up in the upper room that are completely loaded down with books. And of course, I'm always finding new titles, and I'm always wanting to pick up more because you can never have enough. And so one of the things that I have figured out with my books is at school, I have some storage area in a couple areas, and so we get those paper boxes for the copy machine, and those boxes work perfect for storing books. Now, I keep them all indoors, so I don't have to worry about moisture, like they're not sitting in a garage or anything. They're sitting in my classroom where it's perfectly dry. So those books work great. Those boxes work great for my books. And I know Peg talked about them drawing water and stuff, but like I said, it's dry in my classroom, so I don't have to worry about that issue. I think if I ever had to put them in a garage, I would definitely go to plastic totes so they don't draw moisture. But anyway, as far as organizing my books, back at one time in my life before my 3-year-old was born, I had a whole room dedicated to my books. I had an actual library. Of course, we had to use that for a bedroom when we had my youngest, but I organized them by author back then, author last name in alphabetical order. And I even got to, towards the end, that last year I had that room, I had the ones that I had not read yet, I had them organized by author last name, and then once I had read them, I had a whole other shelf or two of books that I had read, and they got put into Dewey Decimal order, and so they were all by subject basically. And I know that's kind of nerdy, and I've got issues with that, but that is how I organized my books. Now, since then, because these are newer shelves, since I've started the channel, really. So I got these, a year and a half ago, and these have no organization whatsoever. There's somewhat by genre, like I got World War II stuff, this is world history stuff, behind me is Civil War stuff, I got American Revolution in Washington, I got a whole shelf right behind my back here of Lincoln. So I guess they're organized somewhat, but really there's no rhyme or reason other than that. So that is my book storage dilemma. I box them up when I don't have room for them. So dilemma number 2, tracking. how do you keep track of what you have read and what books you own? So my school has one-to-one laptop. We've had that for several years now, and so everybody's got their own personal computer. I like to use that computer for not only my school stuff, but I've also got some Google Docs that I keep track of all of my books, and actually we got Macs, so I've got the program Pages, and they've got some pretty neat little bullet points. And when you make a list and you put it into bullets, you can do boxes that are open boxes, and I have all my books by author last name, and once you've read them, you can change that little icon to a box with a check mark in it. And so I've been able to keep track of all of my books for the last, it's been 5 years, 6 years, I don't know, I can't remember when I started making that list. Maybe it's been longer than that, but I started making a list of my books so that I wasn't buying doubles, so I knew what I wanted, or what I had, so I'd know what I wanted. And that's how I keep track of mine. I also have lists in notebooks of books I want to buy. I have a folder on my computer of the JPEG file of pictures of new books that come out that I would like to get. I have lists on my phone, so if I'm out and about. So I got lists upon lists of stuff. But as far as what I have read and what I own, I keep that on my computer, and I have converted that list to not only a Google Doc, but I also have a Google spreadsheet of all of the books. And I haven't, that one's not totally done yet. I've got the author last name, first name, name of the book, but then I also made some categories for its Dewey Decimal Number, is it hardback or paperback, is it, all those other details. So I've got that all on my computer. So question or dilemma number 3, borrow. Do you lend your books out? For me, I teach school, and I get kids that every once in a while ask me if they can borrow books. I have learned not to let kids borrow my books. I try to encourage them to go to the library. I try to show them how to get a hold of a book, but I don't let them use my own, because I don't care what type of kid it is, what type of student. They are terrible with books. They do not appreciate it like I do at all. I mean, I have seen kids just totally trash my books, and it makes me so mad. It infuriates me, and I've just learned it's not worth it. It is not worth it to feel that way about books, or about the situation with the book. So I don't let them use mine. Now, I do have a couple of teachers that I lend books out to. I trust them. They've done well with my books, and I totally trust them. And so I loan them out to them. Let's see. Dilemma number 4, buying. How do you buy or acquire your books? For me, I am always constantly looking on the hunt. I don't care if I'm in Walmart or Target with my wife. When she's doing the grocery shopping, I go to the book section. If we go to town and she's doing like clothes shopping, I try to get a book. I've got used bookstores I go to the Goodwill and look. I go to, if we go to the Dollar Tree, I look in their book section. If we go to Dollar General, I look in their book section. I am always looking for books. So when you ask how do you buy or acquire your books, it's just wherever I'm at. Typically, I don't buy like expensive brand new books because my budget doesn't really allow it. So I buy used books, which I have found is kind of fun. When you're in the hunt and you're looking at what's available, it always brings surprises to you. I like to use Amazon a lot. Like I have a birthday coming up and then Christmas, and I always get Amazon cards for my family because that's what I want. And so I get to pick and choose books from there. And so I think that pretty much covers it. That's how I I buy or acquire books. I also use we got a little library downtown, little box library where you can leave a book and get a book, so that one's free. I use the local lending library. So I got all kinds of places. You just got to know where to look. Dilemma number 5, comments. How do you respond to the "how do you read so much" comment or similar comments? Now, Lindsey's little library, Lindsey had said that she gets comments from friends such as, "You're not paying attention to your kids." Now, honestly, I've never gotten a comment like that. Then again, I just never have gotten that comment from anybody, because they know when I talk to them, they know when I read. I'm pretty upfront, and we talk about just making time for reading, because you make time for things that are important to you. So I make time for my kids, I make time for my wife, and I make time for reading because that's important for me, or important to me. So I get up pretty early in the morning, and that's when I get my reading done, or when I make my videos like I'm doing now. But I get up about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I read till about 6. And so I have usually an 1.5 to 2 hour time period there where I read every day. And then, I read at school and everything. So when I get that, "how do you read so much?" I basically just tell them I make time for it. It's something I like. I make time for it. And honestly, it's not that I read so much for me, because I'm upfront with them. I'm a slow reader. I don't cover as much ground as everybody else does. In my other responses, I'm pretty open about it. I try to encourage them. If you want to read more, make time for it. That's just something, get rid of video games. If I'm talking to kids, get rid of the video games, or adults for that matter. Slow down on your video games, slow down on your TV watching, your movie watching. Maybe don't go out on a Saturday night. Maybe stay in and read a book. I mean, there's all kinds of ways of answering this. You can take it as abrasive and be real defensive about it, but I don't think when you get defensive that it encourages reading. I think that causes other issues. So I try not to get offended by it. I try to kind of just roll with it, and I turn it into a positive, and I try to encourage them. And maybe that's the teacher coming out in me too. But I also have found that when I get the "how do you read so much" thing, I take it as a compliment, because I find that I have taken the time to become educated, because most of my stuff is nonfiction. I'm educating myself. I know I don't have the money to go get all kinds of classes and take classes like I would really like to, so I dedicate it to reading so I can educate myself. So I think I covered that. Dilemma number 6, next book. How do you pick your next read? So for me, my next read is usually based on, I've shared this in previous videos quite a bit. A lot of times it's based on what I'm covering in my class at school. I try to read books that go along with the subject that we are covering. So, with the October TBR, I am reading The Witches, or I'm going to start reading The Witches here. And we just covered that in class. We covered the Salem Witch Trials. And so it goes right along with what we're covering. We're going to be doing World War I. I'm going to have a World War I book going here soon. Same way with World War II. In American history, I'll be hitting I think I'm going to hit the Flexner the Flexner biographies of George Washington. I think I'm going to hit that this winter when I'm covering George Washington. So that's kind of how I pick mine. If I am in a slump, I go with fiction, and I try to pick authors that are fast-paced. Sometimes it's mood reading when I'm trying to pick what book is next, or what kind of mood am I in. So, dilemma number 7, travel. How do you pick what book you bring on vacation with you? When I go on vacation, I want it to be lighthearted, because I'm just trying to enjoy myself, you know what I mean? And so I oftentimes pick fiction or a very light nonfiction. So the last time, we went to Texas to see my father-in-law who lives down in Texas. And I took a Grisham novel. I've taken, because we've been down there a couple times, I took a Grisham novel. I took, let's see, Michael Crichton, Timeline. I took that one when we went down there. And then on that long car ride, because that is a long car ride. Texas is big. It is a long car ride. I took the Greatest Generation by Tom Brokaw, and I read that. And so I try to take either fiction or books that are a little bit lighter, that I'm not taking notes on. So not that Brokaw's was like really light. It dealt with some heavy issues, but it wasn't something I was necessarily taking notes on, because I take a lot of notes on my nonfiction stuff. Dilemma number 8, annotate. Do you write or highlight or mark up your books in any way? For me, I do not. Not at all. I don't write in my books. I think it's book abuse, as I've jokingly said on this channel before. Definitely not an ink pen. I might mark in light pencil. And I say that those are my personal books, my ones that I use for teaching. Like if I have a teacher copy of a classroom set of books, I might mark questions that I want to ask the kids in class for discussion purposes. I might in pencil put those out in the margins, maybe underline where I'm talking about in the book. But I do not highlight. I do not write in pen, and I don't do any of that in my personal library. Now I do use sticky notes. I use sticky notes, and I always have a notebook on the side that I'm writing notes and stuff in. Let's see. Dilemma number 9. New book or backlist? Which do you prefer, new releases or backlist books? So I don't mind either one. I like books. I'm not picky. What really determines is my budget. I can't afford to buy new books, brand new books. So I am probably 95% on the backlist. When I get my Amazon money for Christmas or my birthday, I go to Amazon and get used books. I have certain authors that I'm looking for, and I want the historiography of stuff in certain subjects, and so I go back and I look at the famous authors. So to give you an example for my Civil War stuff, I had several of you over the last few months that have talked about Alan Nevin's Civil War series. He's got an Antebellum, a Civil War, and an Abraham Lincoln series. There's 8 books altogether, and I'm looking to get that. That's a backlist, or it's an old book or set of books, and so I'm going back and getting those. I got this set right here, the Shelby Foote series. That's a older set. It's not to say I don't like new books. I just can't afford to buy new books all the time. And so I will get a new one. So I am 99% sure that I'm getting the John Grisham book for my birthday. I probably ought to not hold my breath, but I'm pretty sure I'm getting that. And my wife, or my 3-year-old, just about slipped up the other day, and so I know I've got something in the mail. So I'm pretty sure the John Grisham and something else. And anyway, I prefer backlist books. There's big, wide variety of choices, and I can get them at a cheaper amount. And dilemma number 10, last one. Sequels. Do you read books as they are released, or wait an entire series to be published before reading one book? Okay, for me, I don't necessarily have to wait for the whole series. Now, I am one that I'm very anal about reading them in order. If I can't read them in order, I probably don't read them. That annoys me big time. And I don't know why. But I have to start with book 1, then go to book 2, book 3. But I don't necessarily have to have the whole thing out. So like I read Rick Atkinson's book, The British Are Coming, a couple months back. It was back in December, excuse me. And, the first volume's the only one that's out. And I'm waiting on volume 2. So I didn't wait till all three volumes of the trilogy were out. Now, I do have sometimes when I get some of the series where I've got books 2 and 3, but I don't have book 1, I do not start the series because I'm speaking nonfiction here because I read more nonfiction than I do fiction. But I have to get number 1 before I can move into the series. That's kind of how I take on that. I don't necessarily have to have a whole set. It doesn't have to be released yet. I can start on it, but I do have to have them in order. So anyway, this has been the Dilemmas of a Book Nerd tag. Again, I watched this on Peg's channel, the History Shelf. I saw her video, and I went and watched the original by Lindsey's Little Library. I'll leave the links to both of those videos down in the description. And I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope to do, I had this on my list of tags, but I also had another tag that I wanted to do, but my daughter, they were watching the Hunger Games movie last night, and so she didn't want to video it. So I'm hoping I'm going to get that one done in the next day or two with her. So anyway, I hope you look forward to that one, and I look forward to watching what you guys put out on Tag Tuesday. So BookTube, you have a great day, and happy reading.